when Jesus saved me, he saved me outdoors through an African woman. She was an African immigrant in London. And the Lord gloriously saved me. I was crying in a London park, and I had been involved in the occult, what would be classified now as New Age, but really looking for a purpose and a meaning in life. And I cried out to God, and I said, God, if there's more to you than I've ever been told. I'd grown up Catholic, I'd been educated at 2 convents, and I said, I've tried every sort of religious, spiritual thing I know, but if there's more to you than I've ever been told, then tell me now, or I think I'll just end my life. And immediately after I said that, I was aware of someone hovering, standing over me. And I looked up, and there was this lovely African woman, and she asked if I was okay. And anyway, we got talking, and she said she was a Christian. She actually used that term. And I'd never been really heard that term with the nuns when I grew up was either Catholic or non-Catholic. And I was like, far out, that sounds sort of religious. And anyway, she introduced me to her husband. They told me about Jesus, and the Lord changed my life. And it was about a year later, Arthur, I was at this ecumenical meeting in London, and I had a new group of friends that I was going to church with, and they were just so precious. And I saw this lady. Her name was Yvonne. And it's the only time I've seen her. I saw her a year later after I was converted. And my friends, they also knew her, but they didn't know how she knew me. And she said, oh, let me tell you how I met Denise. And she said that she was walking across the park that I was cross-legged in, and I'd been crying. And she said, God spoke to her and said, I want to save that young lady now. And she was like, oh no, I looked a bit new age and hippie-ish and long hair, and she didn't want to. And she said, God impressed upon me, no, I want to save that girl now. But she was fearful of approaching me. There were all kinds of weird people in London at the time. And she did not give in to her fear. And she came up and told me about the Lord. And when I heard that, how she was so afraid of approaching me, I just thought, what would have happened to me had she given in to her fear? And I remember I said to the Lord then, I said, Lord, Arthur, I said, I don't ever want to be afraid to go anywhere or tell anybody about Jesus. They may be someone just like me.